I watch now the whole video from end to end, just the way I watched it the first time. Uh, before I give my personal view, let me say the following. I want to give my personal view, which is also professional, but let me also, as a preamble, talk about these things. All public officers are people of interest. All public officers are people of interest. The day you accepted to be in a public office, remember, the day you became an MCA, the day you became all the way to the president, you became public property. Remember, if your MP today dies, there will be a by-election, isn't it? So it means that once you became a public officer, you are a public property. Your confidence is dead. I mean, your confidential matters is dead. Kindly inform your family that you have two families. You have the nuclear family and you have the public family. They have a right to monitor and do a lot of things. I remember when Ogola died, none other than Senator Oburu said, when we are questioning to understand whether Ogola died or he was murdered, it is because so many Luos have been assassinated in the past that we have to doubt any other Luo in position who dies. Licha angejua ndugu yake atafuata. So this is what I'm trying to say, that the day when you accept to be a public officer, you must inform your loved ones that you now have a larger family that has a right to monitor you. The second thing I want to say is, if you want to be open, if you choose to be open, say everything. Do not be selective in your disclosure. What is wrong with telling people, so what? Hmm? Remember Oparanya. Oparanya, people wanted to talk about his girlfriend and whatever. And he said, yes, she's my girlfriend. So what? It died. So that is why I say that if you want to be open, say everything. Do not be selective with your disclosures. I say this because I can see a lot of loopholes in the Raila case. I can see a lot of loopholes. Loopholes which, to me, are deliberate. You see, when somebody, your relative or your boss or anybody close to you dies, and when that person dies, you have the emotions. You have the emotions. So umechanganyikiwa, you cannot control your line of thoughts. But most importantly, what I was taught in CID training school is that when the story is too good to be true, then it is not true. So anything that happens and every loophole is covered, let me tell you, usually that is what do you call fiction. So just if you have said anything, just if you decide to say it, say it. But there are some loopholes which to me are deliberate. Yeah, we have some. Imagine your loved one dying next to you. Your loved one dying next to you. You get confused. There are some questions you can be asked and you talk differently. So we understand that some things when you talk, uh, it may be confusing because of the emotions that are concerned. But when you find that the way these people are telling us, you just see that the loopholes are deliberate. So we get confused. A person like Emilio Mwai Ohwa Kibaki is a person whom whom I like. He was only disturbed if you said that he was a polygamist, especially if you said that a certain lady was his second wife or secret wife. That is the only thing that used to annoy Kibaki, but he never cared about anything. Apart from that issue, he never minded about any rumors about him. No, he never minded. And that is when he died, people did not question where he died, what were the causes or anything. No, did you hear anyway? Maybe there was, but I didn't hear. We are told that the last 6 weeks were tough on him. We are told that the last 6 weeks of Raila's life, it was tough on him. But people from far, like me, I can authoritatively say that the last 6 years were tough on him. The last 6 years were tough on him. I have recorded a video on many similarities between his state funeral and the state funeral of Jomo Kenyatta. Please watch it. One thing that was common among the two, Jomo Kenyatta and Raila Amolo Odinga, is that it was almost blasphemy to mention their poor health status, even when it was obvious to all and sundry that they were old and sickly. The other thing is that those close to Raila were issuing contradicting messages. Those who were close to Raila were issuing contradicting messages. And if I can tell you is that, just as I've said a few minutes ago, that there are those contradictions which are emotional. And I said a few minutes ago that when the story fits all the ticks, hmm, then understand that it is even maybe a cooked story. We have some people, good writers. One of them was called James Hadley Chase. James Hadley Chase would write a book about America, a town in America where he has never been. And if you take that book and you go to that place, all the streets he named are there. So what I'm saying that it is understandable when a fiction writer convinces you, but a person who was there gives you contradicting statements, especially where things that end up which are emotional, especially things that are emotional. But then I say that those close to Raila were issuing contradictory messages, which you cannot explain as being brought about by the emotion. The sister, Mrs. Ghana, let's call it Abekuta, the sister from Ghana says that it was very emotional for her to switch off the life machine. She says that it was her duty to switch off the life support machine, and it was very emotional. That statement being talked that way is straightforward and clear. But then the daughter says that her father used to go around a certain facility. We started going around once, then twice, thrice, until the fifth day. She states without elaborating, that her father died in a different way and not in what the social media are saying. You see, when you say it is not how the social media are saying, you have decided to come out openly. The death of anybody, especially I know daughters and fathers are very close, especially if the daughter is the last born. The last born being, a last born is usually brought up like a grandchild. So we understand where the emotions are. But we also, I think Kenyans should also understand that, like the case of Nkaisere, when the immediate family says this is a normal death or something, don't even go. I know Kenyans will go to an extent and start saying, the family has been bribed, like the Masinde Mudro case. So, but then back to Raila case is she says that it is not the way. It is not the way it is in social media. But then she does not. I said a few minutes ago that you can even go ahead and tell people, so to hell, go to hell. What is it? After all, that is my father. What I do? But then when you voluntarily says that my father did not die as it is on social media, they say that chuma inatolewa na chuma ingine. A fact is contradicted by another fact. Now, when people say that he died this way or that way, and you say it is not that way, you said it, you had an option of keeping quiet, but you decided to respond to it, then give us the right option. She does not go ahead and tell how he died, only stating that he died in her arms. Now, a person who walks around a few rounds a day, very weak, uh, and agrees with the picture that there is going, there is that picture that is going on social media where he's walking and his bodyguard is following him behind. Now, if you look at such a case, it agrees about what the daughter is saying. It agrees with the daughter, because somebody on a life supporting machine cannot be walking around. It will be bedridden throughout. We all have relatives and friends and neighbors and people we know who have been on life supporting machine. Mhm. We have had such people. So apart, the video going around that he's walking and the bodyguard is walking a few steps behind tends to agree with the version of the daughter that a person who walks around a few rounds a day can die in his relative's hand. That one agrees with that. But it is hard to convince a person like me that a person walking that way could be on a life-saving machine. That one, I find it a bit hard to agree with that. So, yes, you are mourning. We understand, because both my parents are dead, and I know her, and my sister, the sister I follow, I'm the second born. I know how, when death visits you, how painful it is. But when the immediate family gives contradicting statements, they are contradicting each other. Before I tell you my conclusion, there are also other questions that people have been asking. There are other questions people have been asking, which I also feel we should address. Remember, Raila died in India, which is the most logical conclusion as of now. If he died in Nairobi, and some people are saying that uh, they, they wanted, why, if he died in Nairobi and some people wanted it to be seen that he died in India, can someone explain to me why the Indian government would give him a VIP treatment? Because he was even guarded by police, and his body was transported by the Indian army. Why should the Indian government agree to that? This is somebody who has been sick. This is somebody who has been sickly for a long time. He dies in Nairobi. Then the government of Kenya rings the Indian government and say, let us. To me, I'm not convinced. If Raila's death was due to an assassination, then the Indian government would have agreed to protect a friendly government, that is Kenya. If Raila had been assassinated in Nairobi or any other place, and it is very easy. I've seen, that is my professional opinion. If it was a matter of a political assassination, then Indian government would have played a role. But everybody, nobody up to this time has even insinuated that Raila died due to assassination. We all agree that he died out of sickness. So why should the Indian government agree to offer police and military escort if he died in a normal? If Raila had been assassinated, and then maybe the government calls the government India and say, can you assist us, ABCD? Then the Indian government would have stepped in. But the Indian government stepped in because they respected Raila as a former prime minister and a personal friend of the current prime minister. So that is why they gave him a state treatment there. And I want to, I don't want even to be convinced. Don't even try to convince me that he India could agree if at all everybody is agreeing that he died of sickness and old age, but mostly sickness. I don't want to go, don't even try to attempt to convince me that what do you call, short of as an assassination, Indian government would have played. No, no. I hope we are. I hope I've exhausted that point. Then there was the question of coffins. Yeah, people are trying to see the question of coffins. They are saying that if you look at the coffin that was being, if you are, if you look at the coffin that was at the Jomo Kenyatta airport, it is not the coffin that he was buried in, the state coffin. The one that came from India was a cheap and whatever, and this one was a royal coffin. Obviously, the coffin that came from India is not the stately coffin that had coat of arms. So people say that what was brought from India may just have been a box without a body, and that Raila was in Nairobi all along. Now, if Raila was all along in Nairobi, I don't know why Indian government would have played a wrong, as I've said repeatedly, by bringing in by giving a state parade to an empty coffin. Remember, even in India, the Kenyan delegation was denied a chance to view the body, and it had to take the cabinet secretary for foreign affairs, Madividi, to intervene. I want to tell you that funeral rites in two different places uh, with two different cultures is a challenge. From my personal view, that my mother wished, 48 hours before my mother died, she had wished to be buried in Karatina in full Luhya tradition. And if you have attended a funeral among Luhyas and you have attended a funeral among the Kikuyus, you'll find that it is quite different, like day and night. So I understand what it means. Huwezi peleka Ujaluo India, but I'm happy to say that the Kikuyus understood. Kikuyu, they say that before your last wish, the things that you used to say before you died must be fulfilled. So I saw that the Kikuyu participated fully in that, and they enjoyed the funeral. Yeah, that is the word, because of the love that they had for their sister. They wanted to honor her dying wish. So that is how they went ahead and fulfilled her condition. It was only my uncle Washira, Paul Washira, who who gave them the instruction, telling them that from now, because he understood the Luya tradition. So he told me, from here, this is what Luyas do. Go kwao, huko kwao wanafanyaga hivi na hivi. So and when he told them that that huko kwa kina my sister, yeah, that is what he would say. Huko kwa my sister, huko kwa kina my sister, they do this and this, and then those people would do that, although poorly and whatever, but the love and commitment that they had still touches me today, very many decades later. So that is what I'm trying to say, that when Raila died in India, remember India, they burn the dead people. Now, okay, they also handle other countries where there are coffins and whatever. But you see, there is the rule that goes there. And Mudavadi had to go there and talk to them in his capacity as the cabinet secretary for foreign affairs and prime minister. And that is why it was a few people was allowed. Now, if Leto was not, you reach there. Have you? Has any of your people died in a mortuary? Me, I buried I was the in charge of my mother's funeral. I was the in charge of my sister's funeral. and I was in charge of my father's funeral. I was in charge of one of my two stepmothers' funeral. I understand what happens in the mortuary. And I've even seen when I used to run video. You find somebody coming to Nairobi all the way from Western. Says, you mean I cannot go to the mortuary to go and see my Mofiala? So I understand if Leto did not was not allowed to go and view the body. I understand how mortuaries in Kenya do now. Using that knowledge is what I'm using in India. Maybe India, there were some etiquettes that it was a bit hard for everybody who came from Kenya to see. And the fact that you did not see is not reason enough to say that we carried a box only, or it is not reason enough to conclude one way or another. Just say I was there, but I did see the body. Those who saw the body should be the ones to talk. The government went ahead to have a state funeral made. It was either made in Kenya or most likely it was bought abroad. Like Kenyatta's coffin came from abroad. Now, let me take it this way. How long does it take to wholly spend time on one coffin? To me, I would say, uh, I don't. You know, there are those coffins which are just ready-made, like Coast Province. When my mother died, opposite the Coast Provincial Hospital, somebody had displayed the coffins there. So I just crossed the road. But stately coffin, they have specifications. They have specification. Like if you see Raila's coffin, it was very unique. I've never seen such a coffin. Hata ya Kenyatta haikuwa hivyo. Hata ya Kenyatta haikuwa hivyo. Coffins usually are either the full coffin inafunguliwa or it is cut into two so that the one half is, but you see his was one and a half. They open it whole and then there was another small one covering him up to the chest. That was a different thing. I was not there. I do not know whatever, but it is likely that abroad, abroad, when somebody like Raila dies, there are so many subcommittees. I'm telling you, there is even a committee maybe which was placed there specifically for the coffee, where experts would look at the coffee specification, ile silk iko kwa sanduku, everything. They do that while you people are busy knowing who are the people who are is it kina Murkomen who are going to India, kina Murkomen are going to have their passports stamped, visas stamped or whatever. But there is somebody who is communicating, especially in this modern day. There could be even 10 or 20 coffins ready, royal, for the kings and princes and queens and princesses. There are those coffins which are ready somewhere, maybe in London. The only thing is, okay, you say it is made up of what? Mahogany, sijui nini, ama there are those expensive trees from Atlantic. Okay, that one. Now, pillow, yes, yeah, whatever. The silk that is there, something like that. That coffin is coming from Britain. And there is another one. They're being told now, can we have the coat of arms, which will be in the coffin? Can we multitasking? Hii sio kama ile matanga ya Nuru Okanga anasema azikwe 72 hours. Na yeye hata hiyo 72 hours tutakuwa tujachanga pesa za sanduku, na amekufia Nairobi. We are supposed to pay the mortuary hospital. Anakaa mortuary 2 months tukija. Anyway, Nuru Okanga is known. Nuru Okanga akikufa, a lot of people but I'm only giving an example. So this is what I'm saying, that when Ruto declared Raila is dead, you can see my hand. There are very many branches. The thumb, nyinyi watu ya thumb, nyinyi ndio mtaenda India, nyinyi ndio mtafanya hivi na nyinyi ndio mtaorganize Nairobi, Lee Funeral Home, military takeover. Go and talk to Lee, Mr. Lee, the owner of Lee Funeral Home. We have hired the whole Lee Funeral Home. No dead body will now be brought there, except those. You know, there are those people who had died earlier than Raila, those who had already been taken to leave funeral home. Okay, those ones we will deal with them. But between the time when Raila goes there up to the time we have taken over the military, zunguka huko, sijui vitu kama hizo. Nyinyi stadium Nyayo Stadium, we have bought it. Tembea huko sijui nini nini. But anyway, let me talk about the coffee. There are those one now, the branch that was given the duty to do the coffin. The coffin, yeah, we want the best hardwood. And you see, let me tell you a secret. Usiambie mtu. When my mother died, when my sister died, we went just tukatafuta coffin hapo tukaona. Imekaa vizuri ya sijui nini. But you see, mtu kama Raila, coffin inatafutwa ambayo it is even calculated itaoza lini and is it environment friendly, sijui nini nini, vitu kama hizo. Those technical things are kina Murkomen wana line up in the Indian High Commission kwa stamping, hata wana, na huku kuna watu wanaongea. There are those people who are now talking on the type of the coffin that has got to be there. And you know Raila was a Luo. Ruto is a political professor of politics. So Raila akipewa Ruto is planting, he'll get it in 2027. Luos knowing that Raila alizikwa like a king. Vitu kama hizo. So that committee is given that. Don't worry about the price. Look for a coffin and then look for the coffin that it will rot well. Because once somebody is buried, the next thing is rotting, isn't it? We don't want a coffin that there are those experts who will look into that and will address those issues. They will address these issues and they will look into those issues. So that is how it is. Now I had talked about the coffin repeatedly. That when that coffin is made, kuna ile linen, kuna nini, a lot of things. Fundi wa nguo, yes, mnashona. Kuna ile fundi Raila anaenda. You see, amejua measurements yake, chest pesa nini nini vitu kama hizo. So at well, it was supposed to be in a Lee funeral, but because of the crowd, it happened in Kasarani. So he was being dressed in the clothes that he did. What all those things and what they are. Hata ile fly wig watu wanasema sijui ingechukuliwa. There are so many fly wigs na kofia zitawekwa kwa museum yake. A new kofia was bought. That is why you find that some people are even talking about hii kuongea mingi pia inasaidia. That the kofia that the daughter came with from India is not the kofia that, and they even go and compare the two. Just as you are busy looking for things and criticizing left and right and center, there are also those committees which were looking for that. What happened is that the kofia that Raila was putting on has got to be placed in his house. It has to be placed in his house forever until ipasuka or something like that, ikuliwe na mchwa or iishe na time. So another kofia similar to the one he puts on is placed there. And this kofia, maybe you like kofias that are plastic and whatever. Ikiwekwa kwa kaburi, it will not rot or something. So those things are there. Mkia inatafutwa, everything. I've talked a lot on that. So that is why when he came with that. Unajua sasa India, I told you that my mother died at Coast Provincial Hospital. Across the gate there is, so you go and take that and place that body in Kenya Airways. But when he was taken to Kasarani, embalmed, washed and everything, that is when he now was placed in the state coffin. I think I've explained that for a long time, but it is good for me to explain because I want also to thank Kenyans because they trust me. Now, for a person who is trusted to explain it to you, that is why I took a long time to tell that. I would want people to understand that the exchange in coffins was in good faith and it was in the condition that I've now said. There was a problem in the stadium that led to several deaths. There was a problem in the stadium that led to several deaths. In the police service, they have something that is called operation orders. Operation orders, like Raila, Either Mr. Seda did that operation orders or Mr. Bungei. Mr. Bungei is the director of operation in the Kenya in the National Police Service. So either of the two, but I was also taught to prepare operation orders. Operation orders are made at a various level. For example, if something is happening in your police station area, you make an operation area for. But then this is an operation area, an operation order that involves Raila leaving Jomo Kenyatta Airport, going all the way it was planned to go to Lee Funeral, then from Lee Funeral, and so on and so on. So it says that the body arrives in Jomo Kenyatta, and then along Mombasa Road, senior superintendent so and so will be in charge of that. And then when it reaches around Lee Funeral, senior superintendent B will be in charge. When it is at Nyayo Stadium, senior superintendent C will be in charge, and senior superintendent D will be whatever. Now, the number of security personnel in Nyayo Stadium and Kasarani are different. So you will need how many police officers, how many cars. Those are the operation orders. Now, SEDA or Bungei prepared the operation orders, how the body would leave Jomo Kenyatta Airport to leave funeral home, and so on and so forth. Things just got out of hand. Things just got out of hand. They overwhelmed what the, you know, district security committee, which I was a member of, co-opted member. You sit down and try to evaluate how many people do we expect. We expect 50 people. Okay, let us make an operation order where we expect 150 people. And then people come 500,000. So things got out of hand. Handling Raila's body, embalming, marashi, change of clothes, and change of coffee was supposed to be done at Lee Funeral Home. But they were done at the stadium, where even the VIPs were kept waiting. Even the VIPs were kept waiting with a crowd that was 100 times. The crowd was 100 times what was expected. The crowd surged forward, and things just like the Wagala massacre happened. You see, the Kasarani, now this is my expert opinion. I have to tell you, this is my expert opinion. I've not talked to anybody. Now, the people were expected, and they came 100 times what was expected. They overwhelmed the police. When they overwhelmed the police, remember the body was supposed to leave funeral while it had been embalmed, it had been dressed, it had been marashed, it had been in the new coffin. But all these things, experts were taken from Lee funeral and taken to the stadium. Now, those people, even the police officer who is controlling the crowd, does not know why people are delaying to go and see people. Expect that constable is handling people 1,000 times more than what he or she expected. And then even he himself or she herself does not know why the crowd is not moving to view the body. Doesn't know. And then the crowd surged there and things got out of hand. This one I can compare it to a Gala massacre. I can compare it to a Gala massacre where the intention was not even to harm a person, but people ended up dead. But I have to add, as sad as it may, my name is Ohwatenge. My name is Ohwatenge. Ohwatenge. Ohwatenge is a Bukusu name. Now, let me be a Bukusu here now. Let me talk about how Aluya would interpret about what happened in the stadium where we lost people, what happened uh, in Kangoka Jaramogi, what happened in Kangoka Jaramogi, which led to uh, people wanakanyaga hiyo maua and so on and so forth. So let me talk as a lawyer in the next few minutes. Sad as it may, Raila led a very rousy life. You remember issues like money, men in black. Raila, wherever he went, he was associated with violence. As a lawyer, I can say that the mayhem at the stadium and the riot immediately after he was buried at the Opoda, is it not Opoda from Kango Kajaramogi? A lawyer would understand and a lawyer would appreciate. If we are to talk as lawyers, we would say that that was giving him a state funeral befitting him. Lawyer, it is appreciated for someone to be buried expressing his lifestyle. Now there was violence wherever he used to walk and whatever, you could see a lot of whatever. So him being sent that way, a lawyer would say that is okay. I have a few cases I remember where somebody, young man, dies, and you see his age mates say no, they take over, they tell the pastor, don't pretend he was a Christian. Alikuwa na kunywaga chang'aa, and then they smoke weed and then throw it in the nini. They also pour chang'aa in the table and say ukunywe kule unaenda. As sad as it may, as sad as I may sound, but I have to tell you that among lawyers, if the lifestyle you led when you are alive happens on the day you are buried, lawyers associate that one with good, with it is okay. So in every place that Raila used to be and whatever, you'd expect a lot of manhandling and whatever. So if you have to reason like a lawyer, then you'd say whatever happened in even a public meeting, just a campaign where Raila is, people have died. So I've talked as a lawyer. Now let me go back to being a Kenyan. Now the question is, did Raila die in Kenya or in India? I do not know. I do not know. Mine is only to make a conclusion concerning the life I've stayed and also the experience I've had and the training that I have had. But I tend to believe that he died in India because I find it hard for the Indian government to have agreed to the trick. And I think I've said that, but I'll repeat. If Raila had been assassinated in Kenya, Indian government or anywhere else, I mean, if Raila would have been assassinated in Kenya, Indian government or any other government would have that is a friendly government, would have agreed for the sake of stability in Kenya. Whether Raila was assassinated in Pakistan or Saskatchewan, a foreign country would accept to play along for the stability of the country that Raila came from. But to date, everybody agrees. That Raila died of illness. So everybody agrees that Raila died of illness. So I don't see the way the Indian government would agree to play around if it is true he died of illness. You will see that Father Kaiser was killed, and the FBI agreed to play around when they said that he showed signs of uh, he had the characteristic of a person with suicidal tendencies. So they said that it is quite possible that Father Kaiser killed himself. This was to protect the stability of Kenya by FBI. They betrayed their own citizen to do that. So if Raila would have been assassinated, then Indian government, for the sake of assisting a friendly country, would go to that extent. But when everybody agrees and it is obvious that Raila died of sickness, then the, why should there be now that game of taking him out of Kenya, rushing him to India and back? Hmm? If he would have been shot along River Road, then we could pretend that he died in India, then rush and whatever. But if he died of illness, it doesn't matter where he died or it. After all, Siolo Tip Tip alikufa akiwa kwa mganga. Yes, a witch doctor. So whether he died anywhere, whatever, the question should be, is it homicide? If it is not homicide, he could even have died in Saskatchewan. So where it is very obvious that Raila died of sickness, there was no need for the Indian government to join in conspiracy. So there is no conspiracy. Conclusion. Conclusion is that in the absence of further tangible information, Raila died in India in a herbal hospital. In a herbal hospital. That is why after he had a cardiac arrest, they had to look for an ambulance to take him to, because I want Kenyans to understand this, because it also took me time to understand that in India some people are licensed to run hospitals where you don't take the medicine that we get in chemist and so on. What they do is that they treat you through lifestyle, where you have to avoid certain food, and you have to eat certain food. You have to do undertake certain exercises like yoga and so on. So you have to do a lot of these things in order to be treated. Alternative medicine. In Kenya we have those people. Tuko nao wanaitwa nini? Makini Habo, yeah. Oh, I said talking a lot is good because some ideas come. Now Kenyans, let us take it this one to explain to a Kenyan. We have Makini Habo. Supposing you are a patient of Makini Habo, and then you get a heart attack. They don't treat things such as heart attack. That explains why he was in one hospital, and when he had a heart attack, he had to be rushed to another hospital. It's like you being in Makini Habo Clinic. The last time I checked, they were near the Globe Cinema, and then you have a heart attack while you are at the hospital at Globe Cinema. You are placed in an ambulance and rushed to Aga Khan Hospital. So, in absence of further tangible information, Raila died in a herbal hospital in India. But the family is giving two versions which cannot be complementary. They are contradicting each other. I suggest that we move from the Jomo Kenyatta Raila secrecy and be open like what do you call, like Kibaki. Kibaki, there's a time Kibaki and Wamalo Kijana were both in Nairobi hospital. So we should go to that openness when somebody is sick or anything. Because I remember even when Raila was sick, his people were annoyed if anybody questioned about his medical condition. And the only thing is everybody was just saying, I talked to Raila and Raila told me he's doing fine. I talked to Raila and I was with Oburu and Oburu gave me a phone and I talked to Raila and Raila was okay. There is even one where Nuru Okanga is ringing Raila. I want to believe that Nuru Okanga's phone was right. It is not fake or anything, because I listened to the voice and I listened to, we in the NIS, we look at various things holistically. Let me not talk about them all because it will prolong the story. But you could see from Nuru Okanga's phone, he was boasting. He was telling the kiosk people that he has Raila's phone. So he calls Raila. Raila picks it up and he tells Baba, it is me, Nuru Okanga. He says, I know you have saved your number. Uko namna gani? Raila says, I'm sick, but I'm okay, whatever, whatever. Then of all the mshamba ni mshamba tu. Then Nuru Okanga goes ahead and says that baba, nimekula hapa chakula ya 120 nitumie nini nitoe. So viewers, that is my view that I wanted to comment. And as I said, as an expert in political assassination, I didn't want to talk about it because to me it was not a political assassination, but I had to. Thank you.